I gotta get a new computer. This one's not holding charge. I did it at 100% this morning.
What's that?
13.
Oh my.
I plugged it in all
That is not, that's not good.
Parker, what are you looking up?
I literally just looked up 525,600 minutes.
I'm gonna make you triple it. My goals are beyond your understanding.
Yeah, what are your goals then, Parker?
Wait, Parker, if I just sign out and coach, does this sign me out? Somebody, I don't remember who it was. I think it was Calvin or Ida. I think it was Calvin, but he power washed my trunk.
What?
What happened to the? They had new cases for everyone last year. What happened to all of those?
What do you mean?
Like they had cases last year for all the students to get new cases, but they never gave them out
For what?
for our computers.
Oh, I know nothing about that. I don't know.
I still got the giggity old one.
Mm-hmm.
I am not sure.
Yeah, like everyone got a case.
Targets 2 and 3.
2, 3, 4, 8. Okay.
Targets 2 and 3 is what it is today. If you look at today's National Scrabble Day.
What's Scrabble?
Anyone ever played Scrabble?
No.
Yeah, I mean I've heard of it, but
Oh yeah,
I've never
Scrabble's
played
fun.
it.
It is a
It's a
really
word game, yeah. So we will begin the dissection of a perch today. We'll also look at some notes
what the
before. We'll probably only get to
I have a question.
the external dissection
Did
so
you take
far.
a picture of that cereal?
No.
Or did you find it on the internet?
The internet is an amazing place, my friend. I did not take a picture of that cereal. Good question. All right, let's see who's here in person. Ava is here. Aiden, Sawyer, Zach, Ryan, and Parker. Julia as well. Then I gotta look. James, Laylee, Emily. Yep.
Mr. Davis,
Alana. It looks like Joe isn't. Nor Ann.
You might have Maxim. Sorry, I'm at the black desk.
You mean her?
The black desk
Cooper
happened
is
in
here.
1920. I'm gonna send you back to
Carissa
1348.
is here.
13,
Okay, here we go. So just 2 people gone
So
today.
baby,
All right, let's get into.
Parker, I hope you get the
What are
space.
people's favorite cereal?
Did you just say you're gonna go
I didn't look
put
yet.
glasses in the eye?
Let's look at our responses. Favorite cereals. I don't eat breakfast.
A lot of stuff.
Who doesn't eat breakfast?
I don't eat breakfast.
I don't eat breakfast.
Who doesn't? That doesn't mean you don't have a favorite cereal. Fruity Pebbles. Not a Fruity Pebbles fan. Cocoa Pebbles is all right. Reese's Puffs, a very good choice. Honey Smacks. Didn't think I would see that. Anyone
Oh,
want
I do like honey snack.
Cinnamon Toast Crunch?
I've never eaten
The goat. The Cinnamon Toast Crunch, the greatest.
What is the go back down? There is that responses. What is it? My favorite are Crave or Frosted.
Crave.
Aren't Crave the ones like filled with chocolate?
I think so.
Oh, yeah.
All right, here we go. So today, our targets are 2 and 3. Then the question, what is the name of the fish that begins its life in a stream, migrates to the ocean, then returns to its birthplace? We just watched a little bit of the video about it. Zach, read. A salmon. Yep,
It's really white bass, guys.
salmon.
Oh.
Salmon can live in both freshwater and saltwater for a portion of their lives. And then there are more fish species than mammal, reptile, bird, and amphibian species combined. What do you think, Ava?
True.
That's true. We learned from the video yesterday. Okay, and then we talked about breakfast cereal already. If I had to take one from this picture, I would probably take Cocoa
I only
Pebbles.
picked from that, but my real favorite is Raisin Bran.
Red.
Raisin bread?
Yeah.
Nice. Nice.
Do you like raisins?
I
Do
hate
you like
raisins.
raisins?
I don't mind raisins actually. But I don't go crazy for them. You know.
Only like cookies and raisins. Alright. Are you assuming this gender?
I don't know who's assuming what.
Did we finish the video yesterday?
No, we didn't. So here we're gonna get started with some notes on vertebrates. Okay. So I'm gonna need you to get out your notebook, please. Notebook, please. Science notebook. Chromebooks can be closed. You won't need them yet.
1 second.
Oh no, my mom.
Jehovah is a religion? Okay, Parker. What? It looks a lot like Jake's glass. See? Yeah. A woman is a man, confirmed? Wait, is that a guy?
It's a woman.
I can't tell. It's a woman.
It's a girl.
Yeah, that's what it
It's
is.
a girl.
The man to the right or
Girl.
I don't. What?
Parker, I'm not looking for it.
Why are we having irrelevant conversations? Nobody knows.
It's to cover up what actually is ugly.
Oh. Okay then.
I hope Ryan, mind you, I hope you know that we have a few women in this classroom and in the meet. Nah, we're good.
Okay. All right. So we're gonna talk vertebrates today. We have been talking for a pretty good portion of time about invertebrates. What's the difference between vertebrates and invertebrates? Somebody raise their hand and tell me. Aiden Stone.
One has a backbone.
One has a backbone, one has does not. Which one does not have a backbone? Which one doesn't have a backbone? Go ahead, Julia. Yeah, invertebrates do not have a backbone, okay? They do not have a backbone, which would, of course, tell you that vertebrates have a backbone. You should have done a, what's it called? Textbook assignment on chordates. Chordates are of the phylum Chordata, and most of them are vertebrates. Vertebrates meaning they have that backbone, but they have notochords or a spinal cord, a bundle of nerves. All right, that kind of separates us from invertebrates. Okay, so the quiz that we'll take on vertebrates will be fill in the blank. All right, and let's get into it. So a key characteristic of these vertebrates is that they have a skeleton, and this skeleton is an internal skeleton. What does an internal skeleton mean? Go ahead, Sawyer.
It's on the inside, not the outside.
It's on the inside, okay? That would be an internal skeleton. And the fancy way to say it, the correct way to say it, would be endoskeleton. Now, we just dissected a crayfish. Okay, crayfish, and we talked about this. We probably said this 100 times. Exoskeleton is what a crayfish has. We and other vertebrates have an endoskeleton. Skeleton on the inside of your body. Pretty obvious when you look at most of the animals that you know, right? Yes? Unless you're looking at an insect, crustacean, crayfish. Parker, you got a writing pencil?
Oh yeah, I got a writing pencil. I'm just looking for an open page.
Okay. And what else is unique about this skeleton of ours and other vertebrates is that it has muscles attached to it. So when you move, right, your bones are being moved by muscles, okay? And they're attached, and there's ligaments and cartilage, which we'll get into. But your muscles are attached to your bone. We call them skeletal muscles. Skeletal muscles, like your bicep would be a skeletal muscle, right? Or your quadriceps or your hamstring. These are all connected to skeleton or bones, all right? There is a couple bones that are not, or a couple muscles that are not skeletal muscles, like your heart. Your heart is a muscle. Were you aware of that?
Yes.
Okay. Heart works hard to keep you alive. Very important muscle. It's got cardiac muscle, all right? There is another muscle in some of your organs that is called smooth muscle. All right? And it doesn't require you to consciously move it. Like your heart. Do you have to think about your heart beating and
No.
making your heart beat?
Sometimes I do. No. That's what
But do you have to actively think? All right, heart, you gotta keep beating. So you gotta keep breathing. Okay? Now, another muscle that is somewhat similar to this, that acts without you making a direct, explicit action, is like your esophagus. Your esophagus has this thing called smooth muscle. And this is muscle that moves your food down towards your stomach. Okay? Has anyone ever laid upside down on their couch and eaten something?
No.
No? Okay. You don't have to do it. But what happens, Julia? But you are still able to swallow it, right? Even though gravity would have that food fall downward, right? And stay up in your mouth. What happens? Your esophagus still is able to push it down towards your stomach, right? You can try it tonight if you want, or you can swallow something upside down. Swallow a drink of water upside down. Okay? You might not be very comfortable,
Does it
but
feel weird to do it?
yeah. Okay.
Have you ever?
But that's an example of a smooth muscle that just moves it along without you having to consciously do it. Make sense? Okay. Yeah. Question?
Oh, your body actually stops you from swallowing more than 3 times.
I saw that on a TikTok too.
I did it.
All right. So some other characteristics of vertebrates. We are animals, right? We're talking about animals. So think about animal characteristics. All animals are multicellular. What does multicellular mean? Not US cellular. What does multicellular mean? Go ahead.
Multiple cells.
Yeah, multiple cells, more than one. We are all more than one cell, right? Think about you. There's billions and trillions of cells. This is true about every animal. It has more than one cell. If it is only one cell, it is a protist. Who remembers when we looked at protists under a microscope? Yes? Like a paramecium. We looked at amoeba. We looked at euglena. We looked at plasmodium. Those are all examples of they have animalistic characteristics, but they're only one cell. Okay, also, all of our cells are eukaryotic. What does that mean? Most of our cells are eukaryotic. What does eukaryotic cells mean? The opposite would be prokaryotic. A bacteria is prokaryotic. Bacteria is prokaryotic. How do your cells differ from a bacteria cell? Yeah. What's that? No, not dead. Ours are dead. There are some dead cells in your body that are being disposed of, but that's not what eukaryotic means. Let's think about this. How else can I put this? Bacteria are prokaryotic, and you have eukaryotic cells. Your cells contain one of these things that prokaryotic cells do not. Not water. A very important part of the cell. Think back to when we did cells. Probably the most important part of the cell. Go ahead.
Might it be a nucleus?
It might be. It is. Yep. So eukaryotic means the cells have a nucleus. This is true for vertebrates and animals. Okay. Also, we must move. Okay. And also, one of our goals, the goals of vertebrates, I keep getting this confused, is to maintain homeostasis. What does that mean? This is one that we talked about maybe like one of the first lessons of the year. Homeostasis. Anybody? Bueller? I'll just give it to you. Okay. Homeostasis is an attempt to keep your body conditions the same. All right. Your body is always trying to maintain homeostasis, and this is the case for most animals. Okay, so that conditions are able to be lived in. All right. So, for example, what happens when you walk outside without a jacket on and it's 15 degrees. What does your body start to do?
It starts to get cold.
What does your body start to do to try to maintain homeostasis without you actively trying to do it? Go ahead. Not necessarily when you're cold, but that is another example of homeostasis, and I'll come back to you, Ava. Go ahead.
Usually your blood flows more frequently if one is trying to warm up your body.
All right. I'm walking outside, and it's really cold, and I've been out here for 3-4 minutes now, and I'm just. Go ahead. Yeah, you shiver, okay? You might think, oh, you're just shivering as a reaction. Yeah, you'd be right, but that's an attempt to get your body moving, okay? Get that blood flowing and keep your body temperature, your core temperature up, right? We are warm-blooded beings, okay? So who has ever like run a race outside when it's cold? Yeah, and did you not feel a little bit warmer, or you didn't even really think about when it's that? I don't know. I've run when it's cold, and when I'm running and your body is moving, or you see like football. Who watches football? Anybody? Maybe not. And they play in the winter, right? And there's guys out there with no sleeves on. They're fine, right? Because they're moving. Their body is moving. Their temperature is getting going. Their body is maintaining homeostasis by staying active. Who remembers when we watched The Journey of Man? No? When they went to the Siberia, and that tribe. They live out in the freezing cold. It's like -40. Okay, how did they live? There's snow, there's nothing. Well, they stayed active. A lot of them are just moving around, right, all day long to keep themselves warm. Yep, right, that's part of it. But also staying active is a huge part of it. Okay, anyway, maintaining homeostasis is a main goal and is a goal to stay alive for survival. All animals their bodies attempt to maintain homeostasis. And also, another main goal is reproduction. What's reproduction? Aiden Stone, what do you got?
I don't know exactly how to put it, but like it's just to keep like a generation going.
Yeah, absolutely. Keep a generation going. What's production or what's produced? That's to make, right? What's to do it again, make more, right? So if I break it down, make more of that species, of that vertebrate, okay? Reproduction. It's amongst vertebrates and animals, it is a goal of theirs to pass on their bloodline and create more of them so that their species stays alive. Okay? Many vertebrates, that's like a main goal. Okay? Humans, not as much anymore. Some people have no desire to, which is fine. Okay, let's see. Let's talk about, number 2, which we talked about. Someone mentioned this, didn't they? Oh, Ava, I was going to come back to you. Another example of homeostasis, right? When it's really hot out, and you're moving around, what happens? You start to sweat, okay? People think, sweat is just there to make you smelly. No, that is an example of homeostasis. That is cooling you down. Have you ever gotten really sweaty, and then come inside? What happens after about 5 minutes? You start to feel cooler, right? So the sweat is doing its job. Yes? No? Okay, yeah. Right? Everybody with me here? Okay, I think it's pretty cool that your body has its own way of doing this without you even having to do anything. Anyway, next thing we're talking about is cartilage. Cartilage is a material in our body and some animals' bodies that is like elastic. It is stiffer than muscle, but less flexible stiffer than muscle, less flexible than bone, right? Who knows where they have cartilage in their body? Anybody? Ryan?
By your joints.
Your joints, absolutely. So like your knee joints, elbow joints, there's cartilage in there to protect that bone from bone just rubbing on bone, right? And have you ever heard anyone say that, I had my cartilage removed out of my knee? So then it's just like bone on bone, and they probably don't walk very well, do they? Or very comfortably. Anyone? So he said joints. Anywhere else? Where's cartilage? Ava? Your nose, right? I'm taking my mask down just a little bit here. The end of your nose. See what I can do with my nose here? And you can do it too. Now, if I go up a little bit, try moving the bridge of your nose. Can you do that? No, that's bone up there. Here is cartilage, right? Nice and flexible. How about your ears, right? Ears are very flexible, but they also have some structure to them, yes? Okay, so that they aren't just a blob, right? It makes a nice little hearing mechanism. I'm trying to think of the way to like you were.
Sometimes student use don't.
Yeah, sometimes student, but it's nicely concave, I think is the word I'm looking for, so that sound is easily received into it. Anyway, you have some in your rib cage, in between your vertebrae. There's cartilage there. It's softer than bone, but stiffer than muscle. Okay. Yeah. Cool.
For your ear.
What's that?
For your ear, it's not just a normal type of bone that holds it together. Like what kind of?
What do you mean?
What keeps it the shape? 'Cause, like, they have
Cartilage.
all of it, like.
Almost all of your ear is cartilage. So if you look at a human skull, do you see an ear bone there?
No.
No, right? Like if you, okay, this is almost all cartilage. Then there's a hole on the side of your head. You ever seen the human skull before? Have that hole right there?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, it's auditory. All right. Next, let's talk about cold-blooded. We are not cold-blooded. Not all vertebrates are cold-blooded, but there are cold-blooded vertebrates. And the fancy way to say it, the way to impress everybody, is to say ectothermic. Something that is cold-blooded is ectothermic. All right? And cold-blooded, the pretty simple way of explaining it is that their body temperature, the body temperature of a cold-blooded or ectothermic vertebrate, changes to the temperature of the surroundings. Who can think of an example right now of a cold-blooded animal? Go ahead, Ryan.
Humans?
No, we're not. We are, so
Oh, warm.
we're warm-blooded. Remember, have you ever had to walk into a place and they took your temperature?
Yes.
What is the average temperature of a human body supposed to be?
98.6.
98.6. Our body constantly maintains that. We're warm-blooded. So, like, if you feel your skin, and that's why if you touch something that's room temperature, it's a little bit colder, right? And what is the temperature in the room? Probably like 70 degrees in here, right? But still, your body temperature is 98.6, give or take a few degrees, like tenths of a degree. Anyway, but I can see how you would think that, because when you go outside, yes, do you feel cold? Does that mean you're constantly warm? No, but your internal body temperature is attempting to maintain that. Okay. Go ahead. Go ahead. What do you think about it?
Would a lizard maybe be cold-blooded?
Yes, reptiles are a great example of cold-blooded. We'll get to that. Did you have one? You're gonna say what? I can't hear you.
I was gonna say a lizard.
Oh, lizard. Okay, yeah, that's a pretty good example. Yeah.
Snake, right?
Snake. Yep, that's a reptile.
Oh, snake was mine.
Okay, so another reptile is a turtle. And I used this example at the beginning of the year, maybe, and well, I know for sure last year. Anyone ever drive past Shadow Lake by the cemetery there?
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I would drive past there on my way to work, and when it starts to get warm out in the morning, what I'll notice is there are turtles that come out on the branch that is extruding from the water. So it's like this large branch or limb that is out of the water, and the sun is coming up. Why are the turtles doing that? Yeah.
So the sun can like heat it up.
Yeah, right. So they need to warm up from the sun. They actually need to sit in the sun to raise their core temperature. So that's an example that I think of. That's a reptile. Lizards, okay, they're able to live in deserts, right? And they just sometimes bask out there. Alligators, right? Alligators are a reptile. And crocodiles. And they sit out there and just bask in the sun, and that raises their body temperature. Okay, but then if they get too hot, they can of course go into the water. Right, you have to have a heat lamp, but yeah. You just sit by the lamp. Yeah. So yes, if you have a reptile, what must you have in your aquarium around here, or whatever you call it, your tank? You must have a heating lamp, right? Because I mean, your house isn't 90 degrees.
Don't they mostly only like to be live? Or like not all the time.
Yeah,
I would
most.
say most of the time they have to.
So that's example of cold-blooded. The body temperature changes to the temperature of the surroundings. So when they need to get warm, they got to get in the sun. When they need to get cold or cool down, let's go down to number 5. Skip number 4, we'll get to it. Okay, what can they do to help themselves cool down? Well, get in the water, right? Or burying themselves in mud, like lizards that live in the deserts. If it's too hot, okay, the sand is boiling, blistering hot, dive into the sand underneath, right? If you were to dig down deeper, that would get cooler. That's how they're able to do that. Another example of this is, I believe elephants do this, cover themselves in mud. Okay, pigs get
Or
too
they
hot,
take their trunk filled
Yep.
with water and spray.
spray themselves, yeah. Okay. Now those are examples of warm-blooded,
But
but
still,
yeah,
they still.
Aren't all mammals warm-blooded?
yes. I don't want to say all. There's always like an exception, but yes, mammals are warm-blooded. Okay, that brings us to number 4. There are 5 classes of vertebrates that we're going to talk about. 1, fish, 2, amphibians, 3, reptiles, 4, birds, and 5 mammals. The first one that we're looking at, fish, and we'll look at a fish later today. Okay, these of course have scientific names. The old way to refer to fish, who knows their zodiac sign?
I'm a Pisces.
There he is. Fish is the old way to say the whole class of fish is Pisces. Now, they've kind of gone away from that because there are subclasses of fish. Like today we'll be looking at a bony fish, okay, perch, excuse me. There are cartilaginous fishes like sturgeon. Sturgeon are, of course they're a fish, but they're a little bit different than a perch. Okay, there are sharks and rays. Did you know sharks and rays, like a stingray, are part of like the same class? Okay, those are another one. I won't give you the name for that one because I just don't want to overload. And then like another example would be like a lamprey. There's a jawless fish. But anyway, Pisces is the old school name for the Latin word for fish. Okay, then we have amphibians. You'll never guess what the Latin phrase or word is. Amphibia. Okay, amphibia. Amphibians are able to live both where? Yeah?
Why isn't it desert?
Don't have to get that specific. Where can an amphibian live?
Anywhere?
Kind of. Go ahead. Land and water. Amphibians, land and water they can survive on. All right, then we have reptiles. Okay, and that name is reptilia. Wow. Then we have birds. Aves. You might notice AV, aviation, has to do with flight. Okay, and then we have mammals. That would be where you are. And your favorite household pet, maybe. If you have a dog or a cat or a hamster. Obviously not a turtle. Turtle would be reptile. But mammals would be mammalia. Anybody else have any questions? I thought I saw somebody raise their hand. Okay, and then we go on to number 6. Temperature changes in water are usually slow. So fish don't have to necessarily do anything drastic in order to protect themselves. Okay, it takes a longer time for the water temperature to change, right? And you'll notice that if you go swimming in May, what's the water going to feel like if you go to a lake?
It's
Still
gonna be like
probably a little
kind of
cold.
mixed.
It's going to be not as warm as you want it to be, right? Because it takes long, even though, let's say it's one day in May, it's 75 degrees. Is the water going to be perfect? No, it's still going to be a little bit cold, right?
Especially
The deeper you go, yes, less sunlight reaches it. Okay, water temperature takes a little bit longer too. But once you get to the middle of summer, right, it's generally fine. You're not going to freeze. All right, here we go. Here's all the 5 classes. All right, like I said, Pisces, fish, divided into a couple different subclasses. The lamprey would be on its own. The shark and the ray would be together, and bony fish. This is the one that you probably think of most when you go fishing. Okay, like a perch. Okay, sharks and rays are similar. Essentially, a ray is like a flattened shark almost. Kind of crazy, right? All right, and then a lamprey. This kind of looks like an eel-ish, but that's a jawless fish. This is jawless. Okay, and it sucks onto its prey. It is part of the class Agnatha. We'll get into that later. I don't really feel like dive bombing you with a bunch of information like that. Then we go to amphibians over here. Amphibians, fish are cold-blooded. They have gills, which I'm sure you probably already knew. Most of them have scales. Sharks and rays have a different type of it, but yeah. And then a swim bladder is present in many fish. The swim bladder is what we'll look at Thursday in the fish, in the perch. And that's what allows it to have buoyancy. What's buoyancy? Ooh, think of a buoy. Go ahead, Aiden.
To be able to float.
Right. Okay, so the fish can control where it is in the water, right? It can go up and down pretty easily. Excuse me. They have a swim bladder that they allow it to fill with air, oxygen, carbon dioxide. If it needs to raise, it would fill with more air, right? If it needs to lower, it would fill with less air. Okay? I'm putting perch here by bony fish. That's not the only bony fish. There are lots and lots and lots, but that's an example of what we're doing. Cold-blooded, remember, is ectothermic. Trout is a bony fish, yep. Most of the fish that you know, that you've fished for, are bony fish. Like sharks are different, sturgeon are different, a little bit.
Is
Cod, yep, that's a bony fish. All right, let's get into amphibians. Remember, that's class Amphibia. That should be really easy to remember. You shouldn't have to write it. They are also cold-blooded. They do not have scales. In fact, their skin is smooth and oftentimes moist, that allows some breathability and for them to take in certain substances. Okay. For respiration, they begin with gills. Think of a tadpole. Tadpole is a larva of a juvenile frog, a young frog or toad, tadpole, right? And it lives in water. It has to have gills. Once it becomes an adult, it develops lungs. That's pretty crazy, I think.
Yeah, definitely good.
Next, we have reptiles. Reptiles also cold-blooded. Remember, that means ectothermic. Ecto, cold. If you want to remember that there's a C in ectothermic for cold-blooded, that'd be great. Reptiles also have scales. Many of them have claws. Many of them have teeth. They're different in others, right? Like a turtle has a beak, many of them, right? They also have lungs, breathe through lungs. And they are mostly land. Yeah, they are land dwellers, sorry. Now, that doesn't mean they can't go in water.
They can breathe. Can't they breathe on
Not all reptiles.
Not
No.
all, but like turtles, some of them.
Turtles, yes, some of them are swimming turtles. Okay, moving on to birds. Finally, we get to something that's similar to us in the fact that it is endothermic. That is warm-blooded. Its body temperature stays the same no matter the temperature outside. Okay, birds, of course, have feathers. They have wings. They typically have 2 feet. Okay, a lot of them have beaks. I'm not really telling you any groundbreaking information, right? All of y'all have seen a bird before.
Oh yeah.
Yes. But I just want you think of birds, warm-blooded, feathers, lungs they breathe through. Okay, beaks, 2 feet, wings. There are different types of birds. Like a chicken is different from
My mom.
a robin.
My mom and I have a bird. My stepdad that I have right now, we used to have a parrot. We
Really?
had to sell it because of where we had to move our house. The house was too small. We moved into a bigger house now. But
All right.
we used to have a parrot. It was really funny.
I know that my cousin's grandpa takes care of exotic birds.
Cool.
And Mrs. Binning, 6th grade teacher we had last year, she has a parrot.
Cool. All right. Next one, the one that you've all been waiting for, mammals. We are endothermic. You are a mammal. You have hair. Mammals have hair. Mammals have milk glands and feed their young using milk. Many of you may have seen this if you've seen cows feed their young, dogs, cats.
Last time I seen a cow was on a plate.
Mammals have lungs. And most mammals give birth to live offspring. What does that mean? Well, think about when you were born. You don't remember it, but you came out alive, right? Kicking and screaming. All right. Now, this is not the case for
I don't even know how to breathe.
not the case for reptiles, not the case for fish, not the case for birds or amphibians. Why? What happens? What do they do? Julia? Yeah, they lay eggs. So then there's further development inside of that egg, right? Now, of course, like I said earlier, there are always exceptions. Okay, there are some reptiles that the egg is hatched inside of the mother. So then it does kind of like the snakes come out of her belly live, but technically they still came from an egg. And we'll get into that later when we talk reptiles. So, but in general, mammals give live birth. Other animals do not. That's what we mean when we say live birth. You came out, boom. Mammals came out, like a horse comes out, and pretty much walk already. Go ahead.
So if chickens lay like multiple eggs a day, does that mean they have like 5 kids a day?
They could. If they were to hatch them all.
And if they were
Right?
fertilized,
Yeah,
you have to.
possible.
Don't some of them die though too?
Yeah.
When humans are born, how do we even know how to breathe?
It's an innate ability. All right. Yeah, it's kind of crazy, isn't it?
That is
That
one
you just
teacher
would.
Teaches one class, then why did they expect us to learn how to
because
Good
I
question.
find it quite cool that I mean like it takes a lot of skill to learn to ride a bike. It takes skill to do stuff like that. Like you have to learn how to eat.
Yeah.
You have to learn how to ride a bike.
Yep.
You don't have to do that. Well, you have to learn how to eat. You don't have to learn how to ride a bike. But
Actually, you are born with the ability to like suck. Yeah. So when you are
Parker.
when you all right. So what I need you to do now is keep those notes. One of your partners needs to get your dissection tray and a kit. The other one needs to come over and get a fish.
I need to do fish. You are non-rusty.
Yeah, let me see one of those kits.
There you go.
I was the only one that goes
That smells fishy.
It is mighty fishy.
Are we gonna put paper towel on this?
If you'd like to put paper towel on your tray today, you can. We won't get into much cutting.
Yeah.
If you want gloves, they're right here.
Fair.
I'm gonna fillet it.
If my dog likes
Where's
to
the scalpel?
It's not going to taste very good. I'll say that. And
It's fine, it'll be rotten.
You want a kiss
So I
it,
got a
Ryan?
question.
Oh, I've already done that before.
Hey,
Cut it
Parker.
like you're plain or
They have to
you
bring
gotta
spider to
cut it
school.
something with-
we're not going
Maybe I
to
should
fillet
bring
it.
a machete to school.
Or if you're gonna cut it so you can inside like that.
And how is
Yes.
school though? They
Okay.
don't
If you want gloves, go ahead. Take one.
So, yeah,
Who needs a fish? Fish.
I died.
Bro, that's
Oh,
Fish.
Parker's doing
What does it
that.
smell like?
Alright,
Does it smell
Fish.
it? Julia.
Who needs a
I
fish?
It doesn't smell like it.
Why is it so sticky?
Ryan, where's your tray?
Oh, I gotta grab it.
yeah. Normally what happens.
Put
Sorry.
it on.
Disappointing. Who needs a fish?
Look at the other one. I can just fold
You
it.
want gloves?
How long has this thing been dead?
That's a good question.
Very long.
I've gone fishing a lot.
This thing's like,
God, uncle. Yeah.
Right.
Oh, I don't see this.
Okay. If you haven't already, please get out your study guide. Do you need a fish?
this is gonna be yes.
I just had it. Wherever that thing went.
Anyone ever caught yellow perch before?
Not, I think so. I don't know.
It's pretty common fish.
Yeah. You know. I got this good guy.
Okay, study guide. We're mostly going to talk external today. All right, there's some fish. I need you to have the one with the fish on. Okay. So online students, the external study guide or the complete study guide is on Schoology in today's folder. All right. So here we have our yellow perch.
Hey guys, welcome back to What's Inside.
And here's our study guide. So look at this. I believe Mr. Welch drew this. Pretty great drawing, I think. Let's start looking at external body parts. And then we'll get into cutting the operculum off and removing the gills. So we have about 10 minutes. Looking at number one, you're looking at a fin. Okay? 1 through 6 are fins. This fin on top, or on its back, if I were to call this its back, which you can, is the anterior, number one, anterior dorsal fin. Okay, dorsal, did we talk about yesterday? What does dorsal mean? Yeah.
We mean, wait, I already forgot.
Dorsal means, if I have a dorsal fin, go ahead, Julia. The back. Anterior means towards the head or towards the front. So this makes sense. This is a fin that's on the back and towards the front of the head, right? Which leads us directly into number 2. Here we have another fin that is on its back. It is a dorsal fin, but it's closer to the rear. That'd be the posterior dorsal fin. Okay, so let me
Don't
get.
they use these for protection?
Yep, so they're spiny. If you straighten them out, okay, these are spiny finned fish. If you straighten them out, you'll notice they are pokey.
First time fishing, I made a mistake.
Yep, you want to.
What happened? I went like that, and it just went like that, and I just stabbed.
Yep, so when you fish and you catch it, you want to kind of start from the top and smooth down their fin, just like this. Okay, then we go to the, what everyone would call the tail right here, right? This is a fish tail. This is its caudal fin, number 3 on your sheet. Caudal, caudal fin. So I have anterior dorsal, posterior dorsal, caudal. Let's go underneath on the belly side of the fish, just about. Okay, here we have what is See this thing right here? This hole is its anus, which makes sense that this fin near its anus is the anal fin, A-N-A-L, okay? Here we go. Moving up towards the front of the fish now. If you go on the side of the fish, these, sorry, I'm trying to peel it off without poking. Right here, this fin on the side looks like an arm almost. This is its pectoral fin. So your pectoral is your chest. If you would like to think that this is on its chest, and this is how a fish would bench press, using this to make its pecs big, there you go, pectoral fin.
How would that even look?
It wouldn't, but if you like to think about silly stuff like that to help you remember,
Those
Go
arms
for it.
are like thin as paper.
right. And then on the bottom here, we have pelvic fins, okay? So again, quick review. We have anterior dorsal, posterior dorsal, caudal, anal, pectoral, and pelvic, okay? All right, now what I want you to direct your attention towards next is number 11. What does number 11 say? It's misspelled, actually.
The
Operculum.
Yep, operculum is how you would say it. Actually, I don't really care how you say it, but it's operculum.
Oh, those are the good.
Okay, and Zach just said, oh, those are the gills. Well, kind of. The operculum is this flap that covers the gills. Okay, if you lift up this flap, everybody, what are you going to see under there? The gills. Okay, that is what the fish uses for respiration. By the way, everyone make sure your fish is facing to the left.
Where are you looking?
Facing to the left, so that we are all looking at the same thing. And when we look at the body parts inside, they're all located in the same place. So your fish should be facing to the left. Everybody, so Sawyer, which way is your fish facing?
This way?
That's, which way is that?
Right
Yep,
away.
good. Your fish should be facing to the left, everybody. Okay, just like it is on the picture. Don't overthink it. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna remove this bony plate that covers the gills, the operculum. Take your scissors
You want me to do that?
and cut.
Wait, the piece that covers the gill?
Yep. You may need to make several cuts. Try not to go too deeply, please. You can see me. Yes, it is bony.
Pokey too, sharp.
I know.
Okay, once you've done this, you should see the gills. Okay, now if I poke around with my probe, okay, you'll notice that there's like layers to them. Look at your diagram of the gill, or your model of the gill. There are three major portions to the gill. That is 13, 14, and 15. 13 are the gill rakers. Those are towards the anterior end. And depending on how well you cut it, you might be able to see them. What the gill rakers do, actually, if I lift up inside here, they look like teeth almost on towards the anterior end. What those do is they act as a filter, so that if there are large particles that get in there, careful with your scissors, my friend. If there are large particles in there, they get caught by the gill rakers. Think of it, it looks like a rake almost. Okay, like teeth towards the front.
You have a sharpener for the scissors because it cannot cut.
No, they don't.
You don't need to be cutting at this moment.
No, we're trying to cut the plate off.
Oh. You might need to use your,
Scalpel.
Oh,
yeah, or muscle. Just use your muscle. Okay, then number 14 is the gill arch. That is a bone that the filament is attached to. So you see these feathery portions of the gill. That's the filament. And that is what helps to provide surface area for the fish to diffuse oxygen and carbon dioxide. Okay, so now what you're going to do is once you've noticed all these things, is to remove the gills.
Move on.
Yep. So you may need to use your scissors again.
Yep.
You're gonna break its spinal pressure. It's already dead.
Does anyone else feel bad?
What was that?
Does anybody else feel that?
I feel bad for the fish.
The fish is
I
already
feel bad for the fish by me watching somebody dissect instead of eating it.
If you've ever eaten fish, you shouldn't feel that bad.
I ate fish on.
Also, the reason we dissect perch is because they are so easily obtainable. Their population is so large and they're easy for us to get. We can get them in pretty large numbers and fairly cheaply and not put a dent in their population or mess with the ecosystem. So that's something that you can feel better about.
Cut them down.
Okay. All right. Once you've removed the gills, that's about as far as we're going to get today. So what I need you to do is throw away the operculum, throw away the gills, find your bag that you had from the other day, put your fish in it, and put it on the cart. Ready? Go.
Oh,
We had the other day.
The one with your name on it.
That's pretty nice.
Yeah.
You have about 2 minutes to get this done.
who's Sawyer? and
So
Payne?
don't cut. No, we're done. We're done.
Your guys' bag.
Yes, Sawyer.
I think you threw away our bag.
It's possible. You get a new one.
Oh, you gotta look for
Or
it.
you didn't write your name on it. This is Dayton, Caden.
This
Or you
is.
get a new one then.
Parker, you
You
want to
guys
Oh, listen, I don't care. I don't care.
take a new one then.
Bye, Ryan.
Okay, get your fish in there. Put it on the cart. Make sure your name is on it.
Yeah, name is Sharpie.
Probably does.
I don't know. Yes.
One right here. The pen will still work.
I think.
Yeah, that does not work.
Okay, here's a Sharpie if you need to write.
Smells like rotten.
It's because it is rotten.
Okay, then everything needs to be cleaned off. Your tray needs to go back on the trays. Yeah, if you can rinse it, that'd be great. I'll take that Sharpie back when you're done.
No more fish.
Is your name on it, Eva?
Oh, sorry.
Get me in the mornings, get me when you lose.
Alex, wait. You guys wait, please. Please wait. Keegan, wait. So we can get cleaned up.
Oh, back outside.
Oh my. Right, once you have cleaned off your spot, you can go. Hey, it's just zero in the hallway.
Yeah, guys.
Alright. Come on.
I'm hurrying up, guys.
Then it was on with that.
You're not a group of three today. Alright, get your Chromebook out.
Oh, it's not awful.
Work on the one line.
I forgot to bring my gloves.
Oh, he has gloves.
Yes.
I didn't get barricaded.
Yeah, it's trying to go in with the You'll have to wait that first time.
I see 3 people following directions. 4.
I just got here.
Yeah, I know, dude. You got here to play your.
Whoa! You just got me. Oh, you're A. Mine already broke. So. What is 6 hours?
Xander, I'm gonna break your ass. Xander, just go throw your back.
There's a piece of it.
I care. My promotion.
Oh, thank you, sir.
I'm thinking in it. I got 10,000. I'll look right behind.
Oh, you're talking about like.
You should be looking in the Tuesday folder. You should be doing the warm up.
Well,
I love broke, so I'll do it.
I'm fixing it.
What's wrong with your
Plug it in.
Austin, bro, I know you're
I got one.
No, what is your favorite breakfast cereal?
There's no other except pretty tough.
Oh,